You ever read a headline so rotten it makes your coffee taste like bleach? This one. The kid in Southport who looks like an African sideshow Bob. The one who slaughtered innocent children while his parents pretended everything was fine. Yeah, that one. Axel Ruda Cubana. Don't even try to act surprised. Everyone saw the storm brewing. The school, the neighbours, the teachers, the parents most of all. And what did they do? Fuck all. They watched the red flags flap like festival bunting and decided it was easier to pray than to parent. He'd already gone off the rails before the killings. Hockey stick incident at school, remember? You don't accidentally try to take someone's head off during PE. That's not a discipline problem. That's a neon sign flashing help me before I explode. And instead of getting therapy, medication, proper evaluation, they did the classic routine. Hush it up, call it a misunderstanding, maybe mutter a psalm. This is what happens when denial dresses up as faith, when the church is louder than the clinic, when every bit of violent behaviour is filed under spiritual warfare instead of my child needs a psychiatrist. And before anyone gets defensive, I'm not anti-faith, I'm anti-bullshit. I've sat through those services where the pastor starts yelling about demons of violence while everyone's pretending not to notice the unstable teenager twitching in the back row. Lay hands on him, they shout. Lay hands. The boy needs a neurologist, not another round of sweaty shouting and oil on his forehead. Let's be real. A lot of African parents in Britain still treat mental illness like it's shameful. They'd rather say someone cursed my child than my child's mind is fractured and needs help. They'll run to a prayer meeting faster than they'll run to cams, and then when tragedy hits, it's suddenly the devil was busy. No. You were lazy. You were scared of gossip, scared of therapy, scared of the mirror. So you did nothing until the devil had company. And the government? Don't even start. They love these cases because it lets them blame youth culture while ignoring the fact that mental health services are a skeleton crew held together by duct tape and caffeine. Kids in crisis wait months for an appointment, parents give up halfway through the phone maze, everyone passes the buck, and by the time something happens, everyone gets to say the same thing: we never saw it coming. Bullshit. You saw it, you just didn't want to deal with it. Let's call it what it is. Cowardice disguised as faith and bureaucracy disguised as care. You want to know what real faith looks like? Real faith is taking your clearly disturbed kid to the doctor and praying in the waiting room. It's fasting for strength while you fill out the bloody forms. It's calling the mental health crisis line at midnight because the spirit of common sense told you to. That's faith. Everything else is fear in Sunday clothes. And don't tell me we didn't know how bad it was. He had already attacked someone. That's not a whisper, that's a fucking alarm. You don't need a psychology degree to recognize danger. You need a spine. You need to stop worrying about what the aunties will say at church and start worrying about who's going to end up in a coffin. The system loves polite parents. The system counts on them. The quieter you are, the easier it is for them to ignore you. They want you to be meek, to accept the wait list, to say, we're coping. Fuck coping. Scream. Demand. Be the nightmare on the phone lines. Because if you don't make noise, the next headline will have your address in it. That's the first punch. Next up, I'm coming for the superstition, the generational rot that treats psychology like witchcraft and turns denial into a religion. The superstition and cultural rot. Let's talk about that superstition. You know the one. The invisible bogeyman that lives rent-free in immigrant households. You mention depression and suddenly the room gets cold. You say therapy and somebody clutches a Bible like you've summoned Lucifer personally. Every family's got that one auntie who'll say, it's not mental illness, it's witchcraft. Someone from the village cursed him. Nah, auntie, it's not witchcraft. It's a nervous system on fire and a government that doesn't give a toss, but the superstition runs deep because it's cheaper than reality. You don't have to queue for a GP to chase demons. You don't have to admit failure when you can blame evil eye. It's comfort food for denial. I grew up around it. Sunday mornings where the sermon lasted 4 hours, and half of it was a gossip line disguised as prayer requests. Everyone praying for deliverance, while no one prays for funding for mental health clinics. We'll pour anointing oil on every damn thing, doors, beds, homework books, but won't pour 1 ounce of energy into getting professional help, because we're terrified of being labelled crazy. We'd rather call it spiritual warfare than chemical imbalance. You can cast out a demon, but you can't cast out serotonin deficiency with a tambourine. And look, I'm not mocking belief. I believe in community, in ritual, in energy, in the comfort of song. But there's a difference between believing in God and outsourcing your whole fucking mental health plan to Him. Your imaginary God gave you doctors, medication, CBT, helplines, therapy dogs, crisis teams, and you're still trying to fix psychosis with a fasting challenge. That's not faith. That's malpractice. Some of you think going to therapy means you've abandoned culture. Newsflash, culture's supposed to evolve, not trap you. Culture is a tool, not a prison. If your culture keeps you from saving your child, burn that rulebook and start again. And then there's the hypocrisy. We'll talk about the devil attacking our children, but we won't talk about the trauma we've handed them. We'll say he's possessed, but never he's lonely. We'll scream, pray harder, but never, I'm sorry for ignoring you. We'll run prayer lines like we're in competition with A&E, while the kids upstairs hallucinating and plotting disaster. We don't need another revival. We need reality. Here's the ugly truth. Superstition is colonial residue mixed with desperation. We inherited shame about the mind from people who thought our brains were primitive. Then we baptized that shame and called it holy. And now we're raising generations who can't name their pain without fear of exile. Meanwhile, the NHS waits 8 months to see them, the school budget's been shredded, and the community's too busy pretending everything's fine to notice the ticking clock. I'm not letting Britain off either. They love our church hall resilience because it saves them money. If we're busy praying away breakdowns, they don't have to fund mental health support in our neighbourhoods. They'll say the community's very strong. Translation, we can neglect them a bit longer, they'll sing their way through it, and we do, until someone dies. Then it's all candlelight vigils and politicians talking about learning lessons. Lessons? We've been screaming the syllabus for decades. Mental health crisis, youth violence, untreated trauma, cultural denial, pick a chapter. We've memorized the whole fucking textbook. We just keep pretending it's fiction. So no, I'm not here to comfort the parents who prayed the danger away. I'm not here to comfort the government either. I'm here to drag the mirror into the pulpit and make everyone look. Because until we can say, my child is sick, not cursed, until we can say therapy isn't weakness, it's maintenance, until we can say God and medication can coexist, we'll keep burying people and calling it fate. The systems, the streets, and the real work. You can't scream about demons on Sunday, then blame the system on Monday. Both of you, church and government, built this mess together. One hides behind scripture, the other behind spreadsheets. Both allergic to accountability. Let's start with the government because, Christ, that's the easier roast. Mental health services in this country are like ghosts. Everyone claims they exist, but nobody's actually seen one. You call for help and get a waiting list so long it needs its own postcode. Meanwhile, some kid is melting down in a bedroom plastered with rage posts and YouTube conspiracies, and the parents being told, try mindfulness. Mindfulness. Mindfulness won't stop a breakdown, it just makes the panic quieter. We've gutted youth centres, we've turned social workers into admin clerks, teachers are half therapists already, working for fuck all pay in a classroom that smells like despair and cheap deodorant. Then when tragedy strikes, the headlines act brand new. No mate, this isn't new. It's the logical result of a country that budgets for bombs before brains. Now let's talk about the streets, because that's the other sermon people dodge. When kids lose structure, they find chaos that feels like family. The streets whisper, we'll take you as you are. The church says, change first, and the state says, wait 18 months for an appointment. Guess which voice wins? These young ones aren't born villains. They're born curious, restless, hungry for belonging. You neglect that hunger, it eats itself and spits out monsters. So stop acting shocked. You can't starve a generation of therapy, opportunity, and community, then clutch your pearls when the pain starts rioting. And to the parents still hiding behind we didn't know, you bloody well did. You just hoped to outpray it, out-ignore it, out-reputation it. Your kid needed a doctor, you gave them a deliverance service. They needed supervision, you gave them freedom because you were too tired to argue. They needed honesty, you gave them silence. Now the whole country's paying the bill. So here's what needs to happen, and I don't care if this offends anyone. 1. Mandatory early intervention laws. If a student attacks another student, if a teacher files a violent risk report that triggers an automatic mental health assessment, no parental veto, no bureaucratic bullshit. 2. Real community clinics. not a van that rocks up once a month handing out leaflets. I'm talking 24-hour drop-ins in every borough staffed by people who actually look like the locals. 3. Drag religion into the 21st century. Train pastors, imams, priests, temple elders, whatever your flavor, to recognize psychosis, depression, trauma. If you can memorize Leviticus, you can memorize the fucking signs of a breakdown. 4. Education that doesn't just tell kids, say no to drugs, but actually teaches them what anxiety, mania, and intrusive thoughts feel like. Half of them don't even have the language to describe their pain, they just know it hurts. Give them vocabulary before they find violence. And 5. Stop pretending therapy is middle class. You don't have to drink herbal tea and quote Brené Brown to need help. Therapy is for anyone with a brain, which last time I checked is everyone. Because here's the truth, love. If we don't fix this shit at the root, we'll keep watching history eat its own children. The headlines will change names, the locations will change accents, but the story will stay the same. Troubled kids, silent parents, useless system, another obituary. And you know what pisses me off the most? The cycle feels almost comfortable now, like Britain's built an emotional callus, a bit of outrage, a bit of vigils, then back to business. Nah, not on my watch. We need fury with stamina. We need swearing in council chambers and compassion in corner shops. We need immigrant mums who will still pray, but will also drag their sons to therapy by the ear if they have to. We need dads who will admit fear instead of disguising it as discipline. We need teachers backed by proper funding, not platitudes. We need a system that values human minds as much as GDP. You want to honour the victims? Stop being fucking polite about the causes. Stop letting superstition and bureaucracy share custody of our children's futures. Stop praying the monster away and start starving it. Starve it of stigma. Starve it of denial. Starve it of silence. I don't want another case like this. I don't want another mother in a courtroom crying because her faith couldn't stop physics. I don't want another headline that starts with, "We never saw it coming." Because we did. We fucking did. That's your wake-up call, Britain. Faith without action is cowardice, policy without funding is theatre, and parenting without confrontation is a gamble with other people's lives. You can light all the candles you want, but until you learn to pick up the phone, fill out the forms, demand the help, and face the truth, we'll keep burning more than wax. That's all for now. You've been watching Nubian Narrator News, and if this one stung, good. That means you still feel something. Not right, not left, just real.